America appears to be at war with itself. If you look at the images coming out of Washington, D.C. today, you will see things that most Americans are not used to seeing. Today is the electoral count day. It is January 6, 2021, and in any other election year, this would be a basic and ceremonial reading of the electoral votes that have been sent in what would largely be a foregone conclusion. But that hasn't happened this year. That hasn't happened this year because there are serious doubts raised by millions of Americans, from people all the way down to your common worker, all the way up to the highest level politicians. They have raised serious doubts about the integrity of the election, and those doubts have not been addressed. Instead, they have been derided and decried as insane, as lunatics, as anti-democratic, as anti-republic, as anti-government, as violent and dangerous terrorists. They have been described as treasonous or seditious. Well, when you tell people that they're things for long enough, you give them permission to act in a way that comports with that expectation. And the blame for this lies squarely at the feet of two major places: the mainstream media, who for years have excused violence coming when it's their politics that are in agreement. Violence that happened on the streets of America across 2020, putting entire cities on lockdowns and curfews for several days or weeks at a time. Burning down local businesses, burning down national chains, burning down police precincts in Minneapolis, attempting to burn down federal courthouses in Portland and Seattle. And a media supporting all of it, downplaying the violence, playing up the idea that this was how democracy was done. But that media didn't want Donald Trump, and they did not want anyone questioning the election of Joe Biden. What they wanted was a peaceful transition, but by peaceful, they never meant peace. They meant subservient. They meant silent. But Americans aren't good at being silent, especially when you have told them for a year now, well, longer, but specifically this year, that this is the way to get things done. And they have watched it happen over and over. They have watched as government has yielded to protest after protest, so long as those politics agree with the politics of the media. Because the media was silent when they should have said something. But now the tables are turned. And now, on what would otherwise be a ceremonial reading of electoral votes, we have an actual congressional challenge. Now we have hundreds of thousands of people in Washington, D.C., making their voices heard, since they wouldn't be heard by the second major culprit in all of this, and that is the courts. From state courts all the way up to the Supreme Court. They punted and abdicated their responsibility on this. They told people that they did not have legal remedies. They told them, sure, they hid behind things like standing. They hid behind latches. They hid behind mootness and ripeness. They hid behind these legal theories that don't make sense to the average person. In fact, they don't make sense to many attorneys. Not because they don't understand the concepts behind them. Anybody can understand the concept of this lawsuit is filed too late. The question that Americans have is, well, when is the right time to file it? Because when they filed it too early, it was too early. When they filed it during the election, that was not proper either. And when they filed it too late, it was too late. It seems like there was no legal remedy in the courts. When you can't get your justice from the judicial branch, and you can't get your legislators to act, that's you, Republican Senate, when you can't get your legislatures to act in the legislative branch, when the executive branch is basically hamstrung by this election involving them, you have to go to the biggest branch of government, and that is the people. And that's what we're seeing now. We're seeing the people voice their concerns, their rage, their outrage into what they have been told is a democratic process. They have been told that their voices matter and that their voices have been heard. But millions of Americans have been clamoring and crying out for just one court, just one, to examine evidence that they think of improper procedures in America's elections. Just one court. And when all other courts failed to act, they looked to the Supreme Court, the 9 wise, learned justices who are supposed to sit with some level of removal from everything else so that they have the opportunity to engage in a way that no other court can, outside of the politics, outside of everything. And they gave an overtly political answer. You will find no justice here. Now people are looking for it in the last place that they have, and that is at the feet of the media and the courts. We'll be covering this as it goes on. We'll talk about legal things coming up. If you want to hear that type of coverage and that type of news, legal and political news, hit subscribe, follow down below. Tell me in the comments what you think. Where are we headed? I know what I'm afraid of. We'll talk to you soon. And I mean this. Peace. Peace.